Hey everybody, welcome back to another 1990 Mazda Miata video. Well, today is the day that I start to finally wrap up the paintwork on this car. I'm going to do a full clear coat, and I got 6 cans of this Spray Max 2K clear and some drop cloth to cover over the top. Of course, some hospital grade face mask, painter's tape, some glass cleaner, and the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get the car ready, and that's going to consist of cleaning up the area and then taking off some loose trim on the car, lights and stuff like that, and then do a wipe down, tape it up, do another wipe down, and then clear it. For me, this is not going to be all done in one day, probably 2 days. But today's the day I get started, so stay tuned. All right, step 1's complete. Backed the car out, got this whole area hosed down, got rid of as much dust as possible. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take the lights off. When I say the lights, I mean like the marker lights and the front license plate and anything else that I can readily get off. Everything else will be taped off. So got my screwdriver, let me get this part done. All right, this thing is ready to go. It's as prepped as it's gonna get. It's as clean as it's gonna be. Now, all I have to do is start spraying it. So, wish me luck. All right, well, 6 cans of clear, and I probably should have had about 12 cans. I've used them all. Some of the areas are kind of dry, but that's okay. I guess it'll buff out. I do have about 2 coats on pretty much every panel. The hood and the deck lid have 3 coats, but probably could have done at least one more nice wet coat. It's kind of hard for you to see it in the shade here, but oh, there it is. Definitely needs to be buffed, but I figured that. But the main purpose of this clear was to go ahead and protect it from future fading. Yeah, you can see the driest areas are really along the sides right there. I had to kind of conserve the clear, and I thought that the top surfaces were much more important, and the front bumper cover since it's so visible. But you can see there's some trash and some dust in there. A couple gnats landed on it, but you know, what are you gonna do? It's an outside paint job. The car is far from perfect, but definitely doing this will hopefully preserve the red so it doesn't fade so quickly like it did last time. In about a year and a half, the car was almost all pink. Anyway, I'm gonna let this dry for the rest of the day. I'll unwrap it and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, it's been a couple hours, and this is pretty dry to the touch. I think I can start to go ahead and unwrap it. A lot of trash in the paint, a lot of dust and little bugs and hair and stuff, but that's okay. I mean, what do you expect for an outside paint job? But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. There's some dry areas. Unfortunately, in the middle of the hood, see if I can get that. Yeah, there's one right there. I don't know if you'll see it or not, but you know, I used all the paint that I had, or all the clear I had, so this is definitely better than not having a clear on top of that Rust-Oleum paint, which didn't last very long. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and start to unwrap it. All right, it's been a couple hours, and this is pretty dry to the touch. I think I can start to go ahead and unwrap it. A lot of trash in the paint, a lot of dust and little bugs and hair and stuff, but that's okay. I mean, what do you expect for an outside paint job? But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. There's some dry areas. Unfortunately, in the middle of the hood, see if I can get that. Yeah, there's one right there. I don't know if you'll see it or not, but you know, I used all the paint that I had, or all the clear I had, so this is definitely better than not having a clear on top of that Rust-Oleum paint, which didn't last very long. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and start to unwrap it. And I decided to give the rockers a fresh coat of Canyon Black Satin from Rust-Oleum. So this is done, it's drying, looks a lot better. There was a lot of overspray and just, you know, it had never been repainted before. So got the driver's side done, and then I'll do the passenger side. It's been about 24 hours, so I think I can start to buff this. I'm gonna try just a little bit of a little area and see how that works out. Anyway, the rocker's done. Well, I started to do a little color sanding on here with some 1200 grit, wet sanding. Guess it's kind of hard to see in this light, but just knocking down some of the orange peel. This side's actually a lot nicer than the other side. I just didn't have enough clear over there, so it's super dry. So I think what I'm gonna do is, I ordered a couple more cans. It'll be here tomorrow. I'm gonna give that side one more nice wet coat before I even touch it. But there's some places on the hood, like there's the clear, I don't know if you can see that, the clear dripped off the can, two spots right there. So I'm gonna try to get this out. But overall, the hood is actually not too bad. And the front bumper is pretty good, but I'm gonna give that a buff before I put the new emblem on. So just, it's all in the details. All right, I brought the car in the garage here. It's nighttime. Just real quickly, I wanted to add that I'm going to install this emblem. There's the part number. This is for a 1993 through 97 Miata. Of course, this one would have had a Mazda sticker right there. Mine had an emblem on it when I got the car, and it ended up being, I think this one right here, which might have been from like a protege or something. Probably somebody stole it off a car a long time ago, but the profile doesn't fit, and it always looked kind of silly. So I ended up getting the factory one. And with this, it does have two little holes. I debated whether or not to break those off and just use the double-sided tape or drill holes. Maybe I'm going to drill the holes, and that way it'll be a little more permanent and perhaps maybe a little easier to steal if anybody ever wants to do that. So pretty simple. I'll just measure this out and install it. Okay, got that installed. I'm glad I actually drilled the holes because it's on there nice and tight. Except for a couple fingerprints. Very happy with the way that looks. I think I got the spacing right. From what I could see, it ended up usually being like exactly the width of this emblem down and in the middle. At least that's what it looked like on the photos, so that's where mine is. Okay, I put another real wet coat of clear on this passenger side. I didn't show it because I've already showed it once, and I'm actually very happy with the way it turned out. Nice and glossy, matches the rest of the car. I still have 2 cans coming, so I might touch up the hood, or actually redo the hood entirely. I can't seem to get this blob of wet clear out of there. It's sanded down and polished about as much as it can possibly go. So I think the only choice is to give a nice another coat to the hood, which is no problem. I've got this fender all polished out. The door is sanded, and this quarter is polished out, and sanded, and most of it is polished out, but my buffer broke last night, so I went and picked up another one, and I'll finish this today. If for some reason I can't get the rest of this polished up, this whole fender was this way, and it turned out really nice. Like I said, I've got more clear coming, so I'll just shoot another coat on top of that. But I anticipate being able to get that buffed out later on today. So it's definitely shaping up. Not perfect by any means, but I think really good for a driver. This would just be my luck. Got the mirrors cleared, and of course, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bunch of ants all over the ground. They haven't crawled on the mirrors yet, but I can't move them because the mirrors are wet, and just can't win, I guess. Well, the ants seem to have completely gone away. I don't know where they went, but I can't find a single ant anywhere. No damage to the mirrors. Like I said, I thought for sure I'd see ants crawling all over it, but that's a good thing. This is looking really good. Still a little tacky, but it should cure by this time tomorrow. It should be totally cured. All right, well, it's been about a week, and I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out, with the exception of the hood, which I do need to re-clear because of that spot right there, which I pointed out earlier. The rest of the car is pretty much done. Still need to do some buffing, some wet sanding and buffing, but I'll get to that. But for right now, I'm pretty happy with the finish. It's a lot shinier, and hopefully it won't oxidize and fade like it did, because this 2K clear is UV stabilized. Paint job is far from perfect, but as far as a rattle can job goes, I think it's pretty good. Car definitely looks better than it did when I got it. Definitely looks really good in the sun. So I would say that the car is pretty close to being ready for Radwood. Radwood SoCal, which is December 7th of this year. I've already registered this car along with the '89 Prelude, so I'm pretty excited to have two of my cars parked side by side. Interior is pretty sorted. You can check out all the other videos in the playlist where I replaced the seats, refinished a lot of the faded plastics and stuff inside. And got this to be pretty much in a, daily driver sort of state. Definitely pretty happy with it. Let me know if you have any questions. Put your comments down below. And don't forget to check out the entire playlist on this car. So 3 years, almost to the day, is when I got this car 3 years ago. It's been a long road, but it's been a fun journey. So that's it for this week. Let me know if you have any questions, and as always, I'll catch you on the flip side.